Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. Having some coffee this morning, just started a fire. This is going to be a bit of a commentary video on a little bit of my recollections and kind of what's going on in Eastern Europe right now. So if that's not your bag, you know in advance, you can click off this. You don't have to listen to me pontificate here, but I thought that this was important enough that I wanted to talk about it. Now, I grew up during the Cold War in the 1970s and the early 1980s. I remember when The Day After came out, and my parents wouldn't let me watch The Day After. So I cracked the bedroom door about this much real quietly, and I watched it through the crack in the door while I was pretending to be asleep. And I'll be honest with you, it scared the shit out of me at that young age. And here we are facing something again that's sort of like, I guess, the Cuban Missile Crisis to one extent or another. So I'm gonna like kind of share some observations and some historical things that I can remember. I remember distinctly my mother and my grandmother discussing the times right after World War II, and Patton they felt was killed because he wanted to go after Russia right after the end of World War II, and he didn't want to let the Russians come into Eastern Europe, and that's why he was basically removed because he was outspoken enough and he had enough support that he could have maybe made that happen. So he couldn't be there anymore. I remember my parents talking about this when I was like 10, 12 years old, so that was a long time ago. And another U.S. war general was MacArthur, and MacArthur kind of wanted to do the same thing after. Um, well, during Korea, and Truman removed him from power, fired him, because he basically wanted to end Korea by taking out Beijing and Moscow. That was kind of what he wanted to do, and I remember my mother and grandmother talking about that all the way up into the 1980s. I can remember them discussing that, and they said that the world would have been a completely different place if those things would have taken place. Who knows? Didn't happen that way, but that is basically how I remember it. And what's going on right now has been festering for a long, long time. And I don't believe there's any way that the United States is going to win this thing, no matter how it transpires. And our adversaries in the East are looking at it kind of the same way, and I'll explain what I mean. I mean, Merkel is no longer in power in Germany. Merkel loathed Putin. That was pretty evident, and that kept things in check to a certain extent. And then we have what happened in Afghanistan. Afghanistan was a complete debacle. So we have a new person in Germany that's running things that's not tested. Merkel was in there for what, like 16 years, so she's out. There's a new person in there. We botched Afghanistan about as much as it could have been botched, and what better time to press the initiative to stir things up, and that's exactly what's happening. And there's been a lot of talk about sanctions and stuff. Oh, if this happens or that happens, we're going to sanction Russia and whatnot. Russia has the financial backing of China, so what good is our sanctions going to do? They can get all the money they want from China. Our money that we gave to them, that our American businesses gave to them over the last, few decades, that money. Oh yeah, oh yeah. There's, people think that the American people they're just kind of dumb and they play video games and watch TikTok and stuff. But not all of us are so naive as our enemies would think. But there's a we're in a kind of a unique position that no matter what we do, we're going to lose. And I'll explain what I mean. If nothing does happen over there in the Ukraine and Russia pulls out, they can say, well, See, the U.S., that was all fear mongering, and all they're doing is whipping stuff up, and poor little us, and they're mistreating us and treating us badly, and that's why we had to do this in the first place. So then we look like an ass on the world stage. Pretty straightforward. And if they do go into the Ukraine, I don't. I don't think that there will be any type of united response against that. I think that this is a ploy to fracture NATO, and it's doing a great job right now. There's all kinds of NATO members that are all over the board on this. They say they're unified, but I don't think they really are. Then you take states like Poland. Poland loathes Belarus and Russia. So what if one of the NATO nations goes rogue and says, you know what, screw it, we're just going to take shit into our own hands, which is also, I think a possibility. So you got that aspect there too. I don't think that there will be any type of united response if Russia does go into the Ukraine. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that there's going to be a fractured response at best. And who's going to suffer? Us. The average people that just go to work, look after our families, grow our food in our backyard. The average people around the world are the ones that are going to suffer. The people living in the mansions and the halls of power, they're not going to suffer. It's going to be us. It's going to be our kids that go to war on both, our side and their side, and we are the ones that are going to have to pay the price for their ambitions. So keep that in mind, folks. That's a little bit of a history and a little bit of how I'm looking at how things are transpiring. I, of course, am a prepper, so I don't have a rosy outlook on much. And this shit that's been going on here for the last few weeks that I've been watching has been irritating me severely. So you can call this a rant, you can call this whatever you want, but I wanted to get that out there and let you guys kind of know what I thought about things and a little bit on how I'm looking at this. But anyway, it's Modern Refugee. I appreciate all my subscribers out there. Hope you guys stay safe and take care out there with what's going on. You guys take care.